What's up guys, the Strong Boys 19 here. This is going to be another new album review for a 2021 album. And I'm going to review the anticipated record from one of my very top favourite solo artists, along with his backing band of Neil Young and Crazy Horse, entitled Barn. Now, Barn is Neil Young's 41st studio album and the 14th overall with American-based backing band Crazy Horse. So this is the follow-up to their 2019 album Colorado. This record, Barn, was something to behold by itself, as that I am a fan of Neil Young myself, who's been a really artistic, prolific, and a virtuoso as a rock musician, releasing some of my all-time favourite albums of After the Gold Rush, to others including Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere, Tonight's the Night, Ragged Glory, Freedom, to other strong records like On the Beach, and as well as Time Fades Away, Psychedelic Pill, and releasing acclaimed live albums like Live Rust and my personal favourite of Weld. Barn is a record that I was so looking forward to checking this one out, because I was really impressed with the first few tracks, as I've already done a listening and reacting video on the song of the opener, Song of the Seasons, which I was motivated enough to dive into this album as openly as possible. This was released through Reprise Records, and it was recorded at the Rocky Mountains at Colorado, believe it or not. This album, Barn, is absolutely, in my opinion, one of the best later albums by both Neil Young and Crazy Horse in a very long time. I was a very big fan of Psychedelic Pill, an album back in 2012, which was to me the last of the strongest records of Neil and Crazy Horse together. That record, by the way, was one of the last when Poncho was still with the band. But I think Barn is a really, really strong record. Musically, it just goes in various different aspects in presentation and mood, and the sound of Neil and Crazy Horse are still at one of their rawest sounding and performed sounding yet. The opening song of the Seasons, as I've already talked about it before on my listening and reacting video, but the more I thought about it, it is a wonderful opening track, because it still takes me back on a bit of that folk rocky acoustic harmonica harvest type. I really enjoy this opener. For 6 minutes, just sets the bar and opening things very, very comfortably, and as well as one of the other strong tracks, like the second track of Heading West, which lyrically Neil still decides to make homages to his past self and taking himself back with instrumentation that I absolutely do appreciate very, very much, because there's a lot of these rocking performances on this album that I was really absorbing so much. And at the same time, on later tracks, they really take me back on previous eras, and Heading West, and as with the next track of Change Ain't Never Gonna, musically weirdly moves me back into something like on a Greendale type of era, a very underrated environmental political concept album, by the way, that I really do love quite a lot. Other tracks like on Tumbling Through the Years, this is another brilliant soft acoustic type of ballad. It's beautifully well placed together, and the innocence on these types of words into this whole move of emotion, this is a great example and one of the best tracks on this entire album. Other tracks onto the heavier side of instrumentation, like on the track of Human Race. Human Race is more on the movement back into the political charged type of scenario. And instrumentally, this is as a very savage one as it really gets. This is just as a manic sounding, cranked up the volume, distorting, howling, aggressive type of voice and guitar calling sound, like on a Ragged Glory type of sound, like on maybe Fucking Up, for example, and resonates. And Neil's guitar tone on that type of song just screams and blasts with such an agony. Welcome Back is a very interesting one, being the longest number on the record at 8.5 minutes. This makes me wonder on a bit of like a Zuma type of vein, you know, like on a repetitive structure of music, like on Danger Bird or even Cortez the Killer as a big example of that. I think the imagery on these types of words here, this is a painted type of mood, and this is the darkest and moodiest sounding song on the record. So I absolutely do give Crazy Horse and Neil so much of the credit that they are always in it with whatever type of adventurous direction that they want to mark themselves into. Other performances onto vocals, while Neil Young has never been for many one of the best singers of all time, and as the point of his voice really is on this album, I give him a lot of credit. The backing vocals as well from Nils, Billy, and also Ralph, they were really great. They just do have that type of sweeter, calm, and resonating sound of voice. And especially on the softer songs, they all match together very, very comfortably. And as well as on the production on this record, it's just top notch. It is on a bit of an unalike type of sound, like on Greendale, for example, just the way that the drums and guitars sound. While it's all on this type of few takes, and again with the word raw type of aspect, it's just one of those things that no matter what type of sound and music these guys do create, I am just always in it, as that I have been a big fan of hearing Neil and Crazy Horse together, and as much as I do love quite a lot of Neil's solo stuff as well, involving records like with Rust Never Sleeps, To Comes a Time, and some other ones. So all in all, I am so pleased with Colorado at the time when this came out. But for Barn for me is possibly the strongest amounts of adrenaline and painted pictures of words with imagery that these guys have created since Psychedelic Pill. And I am very curious to know what you guys personally think of this album in the comments down below for those who are fans of Neil Young and Crazy Horse. I'm going to give this album an 8.5 out of 10. There are a few weaker points on the record, some sloppy, really messy type of impromptu solo playing, and there were points that I wish some of the songs could have been expanded a little bit longer, but at the same time, this is to me a very, very, very good record for Neil and Crazy Horse for what it is. It's just as a great record by itself. It has an identity that I am attached with a lot. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.